Here we're going to look at common mistakes made in Unit 1 for whole numbers, and hopefully that will help you get through your unit test. So when you are talking about place value, remember that Unit 1 is whole numbers, so you should be really focusing in on this first half before the decimal point. Anything with THS at the end is after the decimal. So you just want to be careful, especially when you're doing the rounding. So commutative and associative properties. Commutative property is that you change the order and keep the grouping. Associative property is keeping the order, changing the grouping. And you have some examples here. So notice that if I have 1 plus parentheses 2 plus 3, I can change the order, but I'm going to keep that 2 plus 3 grouped. So I can bring that to the front, and then the 1 will be at the end. Okay, so there's our commutative property. The associative property is going to be that the order stays the same, the grouping changes. So notice if I have 1 plus 2 plus 3, and that 2 plus 3 is in parentheses, then I can regroup it as 1 plus 2, and then have the plus 3 at the end. You're going to get the same answer. So you just have to be very careful with what is happening. So with long division, remember that if you were going to get a remainder, you have to do the long division. So here we have an example of 5 into 26. So we do that 5 times 5 is 25, and then subtract to get 1, and 1 is our remainder. And you could see this as, so we're going to be using these pieces, the quotient and the remainder. 5 are 1, and as you move forward, you may even see it as 5, 1 over 5. And that denominator 5 is actually coming from this divisor. On the calculator, you would do 26 divided by 5, and you'll get 5.2. And that is because 5.2, 2 is 2/10, which equals 1/5. And you'll look more at that kind of stuff when you get into fractions and mixed numbers. The division rule, I see a lot of students make mistakes here. So there's a little shortcut thing that I like to show students. So anytime you have 0 in the numerator, that is 0. So you can also think of it as it's okay to have 0 in the numerator. You'll have an undefined answer if 0 is in the denominator. So think about it as no, you cannot have 0 in the denominator because it's undefined. With inequalities, remember that we have less than or equal to, greater than, and greater than or equal to. And when you're working with values, think about this open side here. So it would be like this side over here eats the bigger number if you want to think about it as an alligator mouth. When you are doing estimation, make sure you're always rounding before you do any math. So when we're doing estimation, we're not looking for exact answers. You want to make sure we call it front end rounding. So if I have 326, 479, so I'm going to do front end rounding. So that means I'm looking at the first value, and then so I'm going to say, does this 2, is it going to make me go up or down? So it's less than 5. It will make this value approximately 300. Looking here, so again, front end rounding, we're going to underline the 4, look at the 7. The 7 is greater than 5, so it's going to make us round up. So 479 is closer to 500. You want to make sure that you are estimating the correct way. Estimation is not using the exact numbers and rounding at the end. You always do it before doing any math. Some key words are going to be approximately, roughly, and about. Be careful when you're working with perimeter and area. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of the shape. Your keyword there is going to be around. And area measures the space inside of the shape. So you may see things like cover. If it's an application problem, it could be paint, carpeting, things like that. When we're working with the order of operations, you want to make sure that you are following parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and then addition, subtraction. The key thing here is when you have multiplication and division, it's done in order as you read them left to right. With addition, subtraction, the same thing. It's as you read it left to right. So if you have multiple parentheses, so I'm just going to jump back over here. Let's say you have something like 2 plus 3 minus 5, and let's say it looks like this. Actually, I'm going to change this problem just a little bit. Let's say that this is multiplication. So I have 2 times 3 minus 5. So you want to work on that inside first. So you're going to do 3 minus 5 to get the negative 2. But then you've got to bring down that multiplication and this other 2 that you haven't worked with. And then you'll do 2 times negative 2 to get that negative 4. Let's say that I have just addition and subtraction. And it's like 2 minus 3 plus 1. So even though you're reading addition, subtraction, remember it's addition, subtraction as you read it left to right. So as we read across this problem, we actually are going to do subtraction first. So that's negative 1 plus 1, which is 0. You just want to be careful as you're working with order of operations. So let's look at another order of operations problem. So let's say I have 7 minus 24 divided by 8 times 4 plus 6. And I'm going to do 6 squared there. So according to the order of operations, the first things that you have to do, we don't have any parentheses, so we're going to do exponents. So you're going to do 6 squared is 36. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring down that other stuff. And then we need to do multiplication, division as it comes left to right. So as you're reading this problem, the first thing I actually have here is division, and then I'm going to do the multiplication. So negative 24 divided by 8. So this is going to be negative 3. And then I need to bring down all those other pieces. And then you want to do the multiplication. So that's our next step. So negative 3 times 4 gives you negative 12. And then bring down those other pieces. And then we're just going to be doing addition, subtraction as it comes left to right. So the first thing you're going to do here is this subtraction. So you've got your 7 minus 12. And that gives you your negative 5. Bring down the plus 3. And negative 5 plus 3 gives me negative 2. So just be careful as you are working through these order of operation problems.